But I'm now going to turn to what we're seeing within our biosecurity business, especially with the recent emergence of bird flu, H5N1. Okay, so on the left here, you can see some recent articles about the federal funding, as well as state and countrywide plans to help curtail the spread of H5N1. But I want to focus more on the right and the timeline about why this is coming to light today. So H5N1 is not new. It was first identified in 1996. There have been various bouts of it over the years, but the first major step change occurred in 2020 when HPAI, or highly pathogenic avian influenza, was detected in Europe, which then traveled over to North America in 21. And since January 22, 48 out of the 50 states have seen outbreaks of H5N1 among poultry, impacting over 100 million birds. You might have heard about this, a big deal, in the poultry industry. Another step change occurred at the beginning of this year when the virus unfortunately mutated again and became transmissible to mammals, specifically cows. Obviously, it's not great. Mammals are closer to us. It's not the end of the world for humans because the virus can be pasteurized out of milk. There's been a lot of news about that lately. Don't drink raw milk. And it can be cooked out of beef. But there's nothing stopping this virus from mutating yet again into something that could be transmissible to humans. So I'm not trying to scare you with this, but this is another example of how important persistent, pervasive monitoring is. We want to catch and crush something like this before hundreds of people are showing up in a hospital with symptoms. Ideally, we detect it much closer to the animal source that it could jump out of. Now, in response to these needs, I'm excited to announce Ginkgo's proposed genomic analysis program, GAP, for H5N1. Ginkgo will use the existing practice of pooling and sampling milk for food safety and add the capability to generate genomic analysis of the H5N1 virus. This provides critical data for the science needed to respond to the virus without adding any extra burden to farmers or the systems they depend on. The process is non-invasive, requires no additional time or logistics from the farm. Importantly, the program does not record or transmit the source of the milk. In the GAP program, the only information captured is the genomic data of the H5N1 virus itself when it's detected. Okay, so this can be done in a way that's not disruptive to the existing industry. Now, if Ginkgo's pilot plan is successful, we will begin sequencing H5N1. If we are successful at sequencing the virus, our sequences could potentially be used by pharma companies to develop drugs or vaccines to combat the spread, give you extra time to get started on those things. And lastly, through our sequencing efforts, we're also looking to detect harmful variants, specifically ones that could be transmissible to humans. If this does occur, we're working on developing partnerships to enable rapid scale-up of testing, similar to what we did during the COVID pandemic to help get resources to the communities that need them most. You'd like to, again, test in those areas where things are happening. Now, the spread of H5N1 may never evolve into a human transmissible disease. Let us hope so. But H5N1 shows us how vulnerable we still are as people, as a society. We wanted to detect anomalies, in other words, where things differ from the norm, a sequence that you hadn't been seeing, as soon as we can, so the industry can protect their herds and way of life, and we can all be safer. And if when H5N1 does become a risk to humans, Ginkgo and its partners stand at the ready to monitor, detect, and intervene if that time comes. I've said this before, but we should monitor for viruses like we monitor the weather, like we watch for hurricanes, right? We're watching all the time. We have a system for evaluating the risk of a storm when it's brewing. What category is it? H5N1 is a small storm at the moment, but it has the potential to be a category 5, and we should have our radar running all the time. And so hopefully this pilot work is the start of that.